We're very unfiltered, we're very honest, we're very direct. Interest rates is a huge factor when it comes to buying activity within the markets.
Also entered into a whole new level of luxury construction that's coming in.
My name is David Siddons, I'm president of the David Siddons Group.
And I'm Elaine Tatum. I'm a territory director with the David Siddons Group here in the Fort Lauderdale, Broward County area.
And this is the forecasting the Fort Lauderdale market into 2024. Okay, so you assume that when realtors talk, everyone thinks we're going to be kumbaya, everything is amazing, everything is great, and it's always a good time to buy. Okay, so that's just BS. We're very unfiltered, we're very honest, we're very direct, and what we've spent a lot of time doing, and we've done this for nearly 2 decades? So we have pedigree, let's put it like that. And ultimately what we do is we try to protect our clients from making really terrible decisions. The business motto for David Siddons Group is better decisions, but it should be also titled, don't make crappy decisions. What we're gonna do this time is, rather than push everything is great and amazing, we're actually going to get into some of the less attractive or less pleasant realities of the real estate market for 2024. We're going to give you some warnings. So I think this is the stuff that will protect you from stepping on a proverbial real estate landmine. So let's get into it. Elaine, you live up here, you sell up here, you always fight your corner. We've always had this like banter about Miami's better than Fort Lauderdale and blah, blah, blah.
No, I think it's always Fort Lauderdale's better than Miami, but okay.
The truth is both have been highly attractive to migrating buyers coming into the market. Both have increased massively over the last couple of years, and we've seen huge swings in the values of real estate, both condos and homes. But as we enter 2024, we're seeing some phenomenon which unsurprisingly happens when markets go up so much as they have done, and people sometimes take a step back and go, oh, that's expensive. Is it the right time to buy? I'm going to go through the key 10 points.
Okay.
The first one that we covered with the Miami market is, will there be better deals in 2024?
No, I think that you'll be getting the same deal in 2024 that you got in 2023. We do have an increase in our inventory right now, but you have reticence in the part of the sellers. So I don't see the reflective pricing coming down in comparison to the way that you've got an escalation going up in your new properties coming on the market.
Yeah,
so there's more options, there's more inventory, and there should be that balance. I don't see it coming yet.
Holding the line, I mean, it's kind of like makes me think of war. The reality is that
it is a war, I think.
Yeah, well, between buyers and sellers now, there is a psychological war that goes on, and sellers in many cases don't need to sell. You know, when people say, you know, am I going to get a better deal? You hit the nail on the head, and it's the same in Miami. Same psychology is true in Miami, that sellers, they don't have to sell. They're not desperate to sell. I don't think the dollar per square foot are going to go up any more than they have been. I think they will match what we saw in 2023, which would in some cases make people think, well, how is that possible? Because inventory is going up.
I know that goes against what we've been taught as an economic, indicator.
The supply
Inventory,
demand.
supply demand. It is going against that, but I don't think it's sustainable. I think eventually we will start having those decreases as sellers sit for a while and have a reality check.
And this kind of leads into part of the second question, which is Fort Lauderdale overvalued?
Fort Lauderdale is not overvalued because of where we're positioned. I view it as a total of South Florida. So you have Miami, which is escalating in prices, seeing 9-10% increases year over year in their price per square foot. And then you have the Palm Beaches, which is also escalating in value. We're right in the middle. So where are people going to go to get a better value? And I think we're getting a lot of migration from the Miami market into the Broward market because they're looking for a better value with that same standard of living or close to it.
Depending on your lifestyle, I mean, if you think about it, someone and many buyers are coming down and they're not discriminating from one area to another, especially those who are coming in, let's say, for a second home. We're right now in this beautiful apartment that we're selling, which is here on Pompano Beach. So what we're dealing with here is a building on the sand that you can get into at a price that you couldn't get into in Miami. It's just not possible to get in at these numbers. When we look at the new construction that's come out of the ground in Miami, you're talking, most cases around $4,000 a square foot, some cases even more. And the new product that's being sold is certainly in that arena. It's $3,000 to $4,000 a square foot, in many cases more. So when people come in and they look at buying right now, they might say, well, that's expensive. And that's the term overvalued. It's like, that's expensive for me. So now you can come up here and there's more optionality. The great thing is we cover Miami, Broward, and even Palm Beach.
I remember when we had so many New York buyers, and some of you may be New York buyers watching us right now, when you were looking to South Florida a few years back, we seemed like the value proposition compared to New York pricing. But over these last few years, Miami has essentially equalized with New York.
Yeah.
And Fort Lauderdale has been gaining traction there too. Our values definitely have gone up for what you get, but we're still a value to those buyers. And we're also attracting a lot of Canadian buyers now, and California buyers are still looking here. So when we're compared to their pricing, we seem like a good value.
Which markets do you think will do better this year? Are there some subsectors of the market that you think will actually have a great 2024?
I really see a lot of buyers coming into that I would say up to $4 million market for both condos and single family homes.
And why is that? Where is that appetite coming from?
As they are the most influenced by reductions in the interest rate. So those are buyers coming in typically needing to get a mortgage, the interest rates go down, their optimism increases, and they're jumping into the market. So we have a lot of buyers out there that have been circling, and as soon as those interest rates go down, they're looking for that product.
And we raised that point on the Miami report as well, where we considered that right now, look, we're in an election year, and a lot of people throw stuff at us talking about what it influences us within the macro economy. And I've had clients reference, oh, there's a war and there's an election. Yeah, but some of the micro forces are much more powerful than the macro forces. With that said, interest rates is a huge factor when it comes to buying activity within the markets. And interest rates, as they can move down through this year, that's really, you see that being a big injection into your market?
I boil it down to optimism in the marketplace. And because last year in like October, November timeframe, I've been working with a buyer and he did not pull the trigger to move forward. He very much wanted something in this marketplace, but because he was nervous about, will interest rates come down? What's happening with the economy? What's happening with this war that's going on? So he had a higher nervousness. He wasn't quite ready. He's circled back now. He's ready. There is an increase in the optimism.
We always deal with periods of time where we see lots of buyers who tend to be systematically nervous, and they play off each other. It's a compounding effect, and the door can swing both ways. When they're positive, they all get positive. When negative starts to build up, then they all start to question and hold back. But it doesn't take an awful lot to suddenly flip the switch.
Well, you see one or two Forbes articles that say gloom and doom, don't buy, everything's crashing, inventory is going off the charts, all of the buyers retreat. And then all of a sudden you get one or two articles that say, migration to the South Florida market is still up there. This is the place to buy, everything else, and those buyers come in. So I don't want to say that our buyers are fickle, but I do think it is that general optimism that we have, our outlook onto the future. When people are buying in South Florida, you're buying for lifestyle. You're buying to live out a future where you can be here in a income tax sort of a free state and everything else. You want to be optimistic when you come in, and I think that's when the floodgates open up and we get a lot of buyers.
With that in mind, we talk about optimism and pro-performance for certain markets, even in light of inventory going up. And if I show you on the screen, yes, inventory has really been going up systematically across many markets. Sales are still better than they were pre-pandemic. Inventory levels are still much the same as they were pre-pandemic. We just had a really incredible run of 2 years where inventory dropped so drastically. But when you actually go out there and find good product, it's harder to find. Now, there are areas that we do see, and let's give some protection here, where we see neighborhoods and areas where we see corrections. And you kind of touched on that, talking about insurance.
In the waterfront marketplace specifically, I think there will be some corrections based on the certain neighborhoods. I see Harbor Beach is getting ready to have a correction in some of the homes in Harbor Beach.
When you say some of the homes, to be clear on what types of homes you're talking about?
It's not the ultra luxury homes, but there are some in there that are not the 2020 builds. They're the 2000, they're the 1980 build, they're the 1975 build. Those homes are having a bit of a correction where they were really overreaching based on the other valuations going up.
Yeah.
But our buyers in that ultra luxury market, they want nicer product. And they don't want the headache of having to find a contractor to get it to their standard.
This is like a mirror, because psychology is the same when you're buying a waterfront house, whether it's Miami or Fort Lauderdale, it's very much the same. Older houses work with different insurance premiums, and those premiums have gone up massively because Citizen, the main insurance carrier, have increased premiums. Now, just because you park your Fiat next to my Ferrari doesn't mean your Fiat's worth more. It just means you just parked it next to something nicer. The truth is, there's a lot of speculative sellers who sat with their homes and said, well, my house is amazing because all the houses around are $20 million and my house is worth $10 million because it's a deal. The fact is,
it's not
very
a
often
deal.
it's not. It's actually land value. Many cases, these older houses need to be torn down and they will become uninsurable. And these areas, and there are parts of Fort Lauderdale that are more prone to flooding. You know these streets.
I do know these streets. So one of them in particular, Coconut Isle, we've talked about it before. I didn't want to sell on Coconut Isle, but now so much new construction has gone in on Coconut Isle. I will show that product because they've risen the seawalls all around Coconut Isle. And
the whole properties are higher up.
Yeah,
now,
and the city has come through and raised seawalls all along the Las Olas corridor. So it's a beautiful place to live.
The price point, the area that you see the most activity, you're thinking about the 2 to 3 million range?
In Fort Lauderdale, to find a home for $2 to $3 million, our inventories are still very low.
3 to 5, are we seeing any more relief in that market?
3 to 5, you're going to see some relief in the waterfront markets, but again, still more inventory out west.
Are we seeing enough new construction out there? Because that's always been a bit of a problem for a lot of markets.
New construction, it's developers tearing down older homes and rebuilding in the single family home market. So there is a percentage-wise, and it will be in a blog that will accompany this, in Harbor Beach, Las Olas Isles, Rio Vista, a good percentage of the inventory that's on market right now is new construction, and that is going to be at the higher price points, price per square foot. And so you have some people that aren't wanting to stretch that high.
What price point are we talking about?
We're talking about like $1,600 on average per square foot for waterfront homes in the Las Olas Isles.
And these
market.
houses are all going to be, 5,000 square feet or more. You're not going to see something smaller.
Right,
So you're talking $8 million and up.
And up.
Okay, which kind of makes sense. And again, that's true when you go into any South Florida market, whether it's Miami or Broward or even Palm Beach. These newer homes are the first choice for many relocating buyers because they're brand new and you have to worry about it, and there's no worry about maintenance.
And the seawall is correct, and the elevation of the home is correct, and it's just a lot less maintenance also required for
But
somebody.
not all new homes are great. I mean,
No.
we've seen this on first hand, and this is why you want to tune into the ugly truth of every market, whether it's the condo market, the housing market, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, waterfront, non-waterfront. There's an ugly truth to all of these markets. And one of them is, unfortunately, that there are builders who just build crappy
We'll
houses.
just say 2 words, spec homes. I would say...
Look and see what a spec home is.
Spec home.
This is a spec home. This is a custom home.
So we do have a lot of spec building that's going on in the Fort Lauderdale area. But to that point, we've also entered into a whole new level of luxury construction that's coming in. They are spec homes. These are $30 million plus. So Fort Lauderdale has now entered into I would say, the uber luxury market. And there's
Where do we find those? So if you're an ultra luxury buyer and you're thinking about being down in South Florida in a prime location, where are they? Why are they positioned there? What's special about those locations?
the one that recently sold for around 40 million was beachfront. Beautifully located, Fort Lauderdale Beach. Gorgeous beachfront home.
And the other ones?
The other ones are going to be point lot homes, which will be the preferred, obviously, land value will be the highest. That's the preferred location on any isle. And that's going to be Harbor Beach and Las Olas Isles with a couple, Rio Vista over there also.
There's some wide waterways. There's some like really wide waterways. When you get down into Miami, we have the intercoastals, and then obviously once you get into the gated communities where boats are more protected. And I have 3 waterfront houses right down now in Miami. One is open water, 2 of them are on canals. They're both excellent canals, but the width of the canals that you have here in many cases much wider. Let's talk about quickly, punching through, the one thing that comes up in conversation when we deal with buyers, and most of the people that come in, and we have thousands of registrations every year through our website, because the David Siddons Group has produced a media monster. We've got over 2,000 articles, we've got over nearly 900 videos now, we have the podcast. It's all about education and narrative, and it's very unfiltered, and it's very direct, and it's very honest. And most of the people who have read it, although we have lots of locals, have been people migrating from other cities, other states, and of course New York, California. How's the migration aspect within Fort Lauderdale? How do you see it for 2024?
Still increasing. People still want to be here, and we're coming through a harsh winter. So I always find that after a harsh winter, we actually have a very strong spring. And I've mentioned this before because I've done the numbers. After the Super Bowl, the husband, the spouse is freed up, that television is off for the weekends, and people go out and they're looking at homes. So we always have a very strong spring.
It's busy boating season. We just got the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show that we've had, and we've got the Miami Boat Show, and there's a lot of activity, and boating is a big part of life. Where do the migrating buyers tend to come from in Fort Lauderdale? I know we don't want to,
Right now I'm working with Canadian buyers, California buyers, and a few Midwest buyers as well.
Yeah,
out of Chicago.
Chicago's a big pull. I think maybe, again, you talk about harsh weathers, harsh winters, and in February it's 81 degrees and sunny in Miami right now, and we're actually sitting here in this beautiful apartment, and down below the beach is just crowded with people. And that's one of the interesting things, that Fort Lauderdale does have beautiful beaches. Nice wide beaches, a lot going on, great for boating. So if it's beaches and boating, there's a lot of pull to come up here. So you see migration continuing. Now, with the migration which happens, growing pains.
The truth is, Fort Lauderdale is going to be experiencing some growing pains, especially in the downtown area where we have a lot of vertical density coming to that area. So with that, the roads that lead in and out of the downtown Fort Lauderdale area, there aren't that many of them.
Where's the congestive blocks? Like I know, like in Miami.
Las Olas Boulevard is where everybody wants to be, and that kind of tends to be a congestive,
snarled up.
Yeah. And residents coming off of the Isles either have to go up through Las Olas to downtown, or they have to come to the beach to go to Sunrise or out 17th Street Causeway.
The other side of the growing pains is schools.
Schools and our private clubs are waitlisted.
But like everything, there's only so many spaces. We have a lack of attrition in Miami, like people leaving.
The attrition here is the same. We're becoming a legacy town where people stay and their kids come back and they stay, and it's a place where people want to be, but the children aren't moving in and out of schools like they were.
Is that one of the reasons why we're seeing a slowdown in the sales and sometimes the dollar per square foot? And we do see them with some houses. They really spike because the sellers are still going to sell, but they're going to buy something else within the same market. So it's a zero-sum game for them. So that desire or that willingness to sell is tempered massively by the fact that if they're looking to buy, they're looking at what's available on the market.
Right.
And the buyers aren't looking at that. The buyers are looking at what actually sold. So when these sellers are coming to sell, they just want higher numbers, and that makes it sometimes very hard to digest.
Well, I have a controversial position on a specific neighborhood where Lionel Messi bought. I had a agent come and we were bantering back and forth. He said, oh, valuations have gone up like crazy in the Bay Colony market. And I said, well, not for closed sales. Lionel Messi, one star moving into a neighborhood is not like a Star Island scenario.
Yeah.
I said, if you base valuations on one person moving into a neighborhood, then what happens when that person moves out? So I said, that is not a scenario where you should
that's not an
valuations
economic-based value. That's
right.
a little, honestly, it's a little moronic. And look, quite candidly, we say this with respect to sellers because we talk to, and not everyone watching this video is going to be a buyer. I expect we'll have a lot of people who watch it who are sellers in the market, and they're thinking, I need to sell my property, or I want to sell my property. I've had it listed, it didn't sell, what happened? And we're very unfiltered. We'll tell you, look, this is where the market is, because the truth is that buyers are looking at closed comps. Stop valuing your home according to what's active, okay? Just because all your neighbors run off a cliff doesn't mean you should follow them, okay? It doesn't work like that. It never has done, it never will do. We're not dealing with a market that's flying to the moon. And just because Lionel Messi moves into the neighborhood, look, it's fantastic, it's good PR, but people aren't going to buy in the neighborhood just because Lionel Messi lives in the neighborhood, unless you have a bunch of like soccer fan freaks who just want to live close by.
I said, it's a lovely neighborhood, by the way. I do love it. It's gated, it's secured, it's manned. You know, protect your castle and all of that. And it's 5 minutes from one of the top schools in the area. But if for a boater, it's not ideal. And so a lot of people that are buying waterfront homes want to buy where you're closest to an inlet. And that neighborhood location is equidistance.
What's the ideal like neighborhood, the street to be in? Like if you could say this street, what's the ideal? If you're a boater and you want the premium streets that you could be in, that's just like the number one spot where the views are amazing, the access to the open water is amazing, it's protected, you've got like everything that you could want.
I would say it would be Harbor Beach, and it would be like Lucille. Huge, wide canal, quick access out to the inlet, and that's the ideal boater's paradise over there.
See, this is what we call hyper-granular knowledge. Like agents out there running around saying that they know the market, they know the neighborhood. You've got to be hyper-granular. It's line by line by the building, it's street by street in the neighborhood. Last 2 points I'm going to go into is the interest rates and the mortgage rates. We think, and we've touched on this, we think that interest rates are going to come down more towards Q3 of this year, or do you think they might come down sooner? I mean, again, we don't work for the Fed, so.
Really, there's no crystal ball. I would say that they're indicating they're going to continue to lower the interest rate.
Do you see positivity in the environment? Because we're observing on the ground. This isn't just an academic study that we do. Yes, we run the numbers. Yes, we're involved. Yes, academically, we have a very, very strong base. But we are dealing with actual buyers and sellers every single day on the ground in our markets. So what's the feeling on the street? Because that's what people want to know en masse. What are they feeling?
People want to be here. That's the bottom line.
Are they confident about interest rates?
And they're trying to figure out how to make it happen, how to make it work, but they don't want to be taken advantage of. No one likes being taken advantage of.
This is really maybe one of the most poignant points that if you take anything away from this video, one of the most poignant points that you've raised, that's also been raised by other territory managers at the David Siddons Group, they said buyers, and you said it very politely, but another territory manager said, buyers don't want to get screwed. They don't want to be left buying the most expensive house on record for the last 2 years.
Right, that's right.
So they want to pay fair market, and they're just a bit more cautious. But if you're a seller and you're in line with that, then you will sell because the buyers want to buy.
They want to buy. They want to be here.
New construction, because we do a lot of new construction. We have over 30 independent reviews. We have the ugly truth on new construction, which is now, probably by the time this is out, it's probably going to be 100,000 views. We're already at 75,000 views on this. So it's one of our most watched videos. The truth of the new construction market in Fort Lauderdale. What's going on with that market?
I love it. It is hot right now. So the new construction product that is currently for sale, we have Andare, Rosewood Residences, the Waldorf Astoria, Pier 66 is online. They are 50% sold already, and they have not broken ground for most of these projects. So by the time they break ground, they will be 80 to 85% already sold. So and we don't have that many up here in Broward.
I was going to say, what's the
overbuilt.
optionality? Because there's not as much on the market available as we
I think I can name off 7 projects that will be coming online within the next 3 years.
These are the ones that we're breaking ground. Now, one of the ugly truths that I did when we covered the Miami market and the market in general was fake groundbreakings. People who said they were going to break ground and then they just pushed the can down the street, delayed because interest rates were high.
You probably had more examples of that than we did, but we had one clear example of that. The addition was coming to Fort Lauderdale. They had the groundbreaking. They had no intention of breaking ground, and it became a big fiasco. That is now, the addition is no longer coming in. They're reshopping around the lot. I think it's already been identified who will be there, and we'll be bringing that to you very soon.
So who has broken ground, and who, or more to the point, not just broken ground, who's also secured their loans? Because this was another thing about who actually secured your loans. Once you secured your loans, you've got to start building.
So as I understand it, beautiful building downtown Endari, they need to be 70% sold before they can secure their loan. There's others like the Pier 66, they are self-funded, they're already funded. So you don't have to worry about
Pier 66 is a monster. That's a big project.
It's going to be amazing. If you're looking for a social harbor, a nautical destination known around the world, the Pier 66 is the iconic.
This is one of your favorites, isn't it?
It's the iconic symbol in Fort Lauderdale. It's right at the gates to the city.
And it's very unique. I mean, again, look, we don't have a dog in the fight. We independently review and analyze and sell all these projects in the whole of South Florida. Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach now.
I do have my very specific lines that I like at the Pier 66.
Call Elaine and she'll run through it with you independently. And you are educated to know the Miami market numbers as well, because again, we transition and we work together. So we'll have a client that we'll work with on both areas. So if you're trying to figure out where you want to be, and again, you've got a certain budget, we can weigh both markets up for you, give you side-by-side comparisons.
We love to do that.
And give you the ugly truth on everything. That covers us. Most importantly, stay tuned for more videos, but read the attached article that we'll have with this, which will detail the forecasting for the Fort Lauderdale market into 2024. As always, you have an expert here who knows, lives, loves, and sells the market. And stay tuned soon for another Elaine Tatum, David Sinscript video.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.